I originally had contemplated swearing in the witnesses today, but I do not intend to do that. I expect that all answers will be full and complete or taken for the record, and if taken for the record, that we will receive a timely response to the questions. Have you or anyone at the table been directed to withhold or delay the transmission of requested information to this committee?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Have you or anybody here directed others to delay anything to this committee?
Mr. Chairman, there are many instances where, in the interest of providing accurate information, we continue to review and analyze the information that we gather to meet the many requests.
Testimony then that you are not aware of anybody at VA directing anybody to withhold information from this committee?
My testimony would be that we are absolutely committed to congressional oversight, that we have provided a constant flow of information to this committee, and that our intent is to do so in an accurate and thorough manner.
On behalf of the entire committee, I ask again, can we get your assurances that the 66 overdue requests for information that this committee has made can be responded to in a timely fashion, and what do you consider a timely fashion? Obviously, you probably don't know what all 66 requests are, but some of them are very long in being responded to, and you know, I think part of the problem that we've had has been we ask a question, it doesn't get responded to, we ask again, and then of course it gives the impression that somebody's not wanting to provide timely information. So, you know, I want to say, can you do it by the end of the week? Obviously, the end of the week's pretty quick. What type of answer would you give me?
No, Mr. Chairman, first of all, I have directed our congressional team to respond to oversight requests expeditiously. Let me just give you an example just to put this in context and for veterans and viewers that might be listening at home. This committee had a very active engagement and oversight on the pharmaceutical up is a slap at the employees who work at VA every day. And respectfully,
Mr.
sir,
Gould, let me tell you something. No. You and I had a very civil conversation yesterday afternoon.
Yes, we did.
I have not one time slapped at any of the 300,000 VA employees. I have slapped at the leadership. And your responses in the last 15 minutes have just raised what we call the hackles on the back of my neck again. The truce is over. It lasted less than 24 hours. Expect much more oversight from this committee. Don't you ever accuse a Democrat or a Republican on this committee of slapping any of the hard-working 300,000 VA employees. Rest assured, it's the leadership that we're concerned with. And with that, expect more questions from this committee, this hearing this morning, for the record, because they're coming in great volumes. This hearing's adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We are here today to examine in detail VA's conference spending, particularly following the VA Inspector General's highlighting the wasteful spending that occurred at HR conferences in Orlando in 2011. I also want to examine VA's response to this committee and Congress regarding its conference spending. I think that, you know, fundamentally this hearing is about accountability to the veterans, to the taxpayers, and to this oversight committee. And I am concerned on all fronts. And I want to briefly share today why. On the 16th of August, of this year, the ranking member and I sent a letter to the Secretary asking a series of questions relating to VA's conference spending. In that letter, we referenced the conflicting testimonies that we had received over the course of the 112th Congress regarding VA's total expenditures. First, we were told $20 million was spent in fiscal year 2011 on conferences. Then we were told it was a little over $100 million. Finally, we were told that there really was no accurate, reliable figure on conference spending that existed. Now, because of these discrepancies, we asked for clarification of VA's total conference spending for that year and prior years, as well as a breakdown of all individual conferences. So rather than receiving welcome, sir. Rather than receiving what we would say is a coherent response clearly explaining the discrepancies and answering all of the questions that we posed, VA produced what I term as a data dump of information to the committee, under the cover of a letter by the Assistant Secretary for Congressional and Legislative Affairs, Joan Mooney, on August 24th of 2012. Even though I discussed what I believe was a lack of response to our letter at the committee's September 25th hearing, we were not informed by Ms. Mooney until a week later that her letter and the information provided along with it served as the Secretary's official response. But even assuming that was provided in August was what the Secretary intended to be the official response, our questions still remain unanswered. These questions that were answered conflicted with prior testimony given by VA. For example, when we, the committee, tallied up total VA conference expenditures for fiscal year 2011 based on the information that VA had provided to us, it came to $86.5 million. This represents the fourth answer provided to the committee for VA conference spending in 2011. First was $20 million, then over $100 million, then no reliable number, then the number that we came up with was $86.5 million. Now, the confusion over what VA's actual conference spending is reminds me of the Inspector General's report on the Orlando conferences, in which they found VA's reported expenditures were incorrect. Absent any clear response, I'm left to wonder whether VA at best has no reliable controls on its spending, or at worst is hiding, and hopefully I don't believe that this is the case, but that VA is trying to hide something from the committee. And so during questioning, hopefully we'll be able to get further answers this morning. Further, after reading that VA Chief of Staff John Gingrich would, going forward, be approving all overseas travel, on behalf of VA, I asked staff to inquire about VA's spending on foreign travel. I wanted to know how much was spent on overseas trips over the last 3 years. What were the purposes of the trip, and who went on the trips? This is pretty straightforward. It was made in August, and I've repeated it several times, yet I have not gotten an answer. I have no answers which would help us understand whether the pictures posted on the VA Canteen Services Twitter feed and Facebook page of a European field trip, which, if you look at the screen, everybody can see there. Those are pictures. Do you have the sheet you gave me? Those are pictures from Italy on the Facebook page of the VA's Veterans Canteen Service. And one of the things that bothered me the most was a post that said, somebody wrote in and said, "Tough trip." VA Canteen Service response was, "Research is tough, but someone has to do it." Is this a boondoggle or not a boondoggle? At best, these pictures are of a privately funded vacation posted on a government webpage, or at worst, it was taxpayer financed with no known legitimate purpose. The point is that if VA refuses to respond in a timely fashion for requests of information, we have no way of knowing except by exercising the extraordinary step of this committee issuing a subpoena. Unfortunately, lengthy delays or not responding to requests at all has become the normal for VA. I've asked the staff to compile a list of all outstanding requests I or my staff has made since our accountability hearing in September. It's not a partisan issue because I think some of the same frustration is shared with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. But of the 91 total requests of VA made by letter, email, over the telephone, or in meetings, 91 requests, VA has only answered 16. 75 requests are still outstanding. 66 of those are either past 2 weeks or beyond VA's agreed date for delivery of the information. In a touch of irony, VA's testimony for this hearing was almost 8 hours late. We clearly have a problem, and I think we all want to get to the bottom of it, both with respect to conference spending and VA's relationship with this oversight committee. As an aside, I asked Ms. Mooney to testify today regarding these and other matters, but was told she would be on vacation. She said that all of her official actions could be addressed by the Deputy Secretary in her absence. And I trust you're prepared to do that, Mr. Gould.